Hello friends, it's Kat from Meow Kapow. First of all, I'm pretty sure that a requirement of being an artist is that you just instinctively hoard art supplies, right? Take for instance this 30-tube set of Shinhan Professional watercolors, which I bought over a year ago, telling myself that I'd totally play with them and even give them a review on YouTube. And 37.5 milliliter tubes for $30? That's so affordable! I was so excited. And then they just sat on my shelf for forever, completely forgotten in the pile of impulse purchases. Whoops. I've got a huge backlog of stuff that has just gone completely untouched despite my best intentions. So we're digging into the archive of the forgotten and letting that initial curiosity be sated. We're going to swatch out all 30 of the colors in the Shinhan Professional watercolor set, but I won't be testing mixing or lifting until a future video where we directly compare some PWC to some professional paints. For the record, the name of this set is a little bit misleading. Shinhan, as far as I can tell, currently makes 3 different lines of watercolors. There's the Shami line, which is essentially their children's line, the Professional line, which we're swatching together in this video and which I would classify as their college student line, and the PWC line, which has all the bells and whistles you'd expect in top-of-the-line professional watercolors. I'm not fully sure of the difference between the PWC and the Professional named line yet, but just from the color selection available, it does look as though there are more hues used in the Professional line, whereas PWC uses more original pigments. Both lines claim high light fastness, meaning they should endure the test of time for quite a while before fading, but from the swatches alone on this 30-tube set, I can tell that their claims of color clarity and transparency aren't exactly accurate. Many of the colors dried with a somewhat dull, lightly chalky appearance, though I would say that nothing came out offensively dull or ugly. The finish on these reminds me a little bit of the St. Petersburg White Nights paints I reviewed a while ago, which have beautiful colors but also have just a barely noticeable dustiness to them after they dry. I'll throw a link in the iCards to that review if you want to see it, and there will be links to all the supplies down in the doobly-doo if you'd like to give them a go yourself. Each tube has listed on it the name of the color, light fastness rating where more stars means better light fastness, transparency rating, and the pigments used for the paint. For these swatches, I wrote all that information underneath each square if you'd like to pause and investigate it a bit more. Because I haven't worked with them beyond these swatches, I can't give a proper read on them, but I can give some observations that might or might not matter in your decisions. First of all, despite the fact that these paints have been sitting totally unused on a shelf for over a year, there was almost no separation of the pigment from the binder. I squeezed out a small little dollop of each color onto a plate, and only 1 or 2 colors showed any sign of separation at all. There's also a really good range of colors in this set, and despite it being 30 tubes, there really isn't any overlap. Each color is very distinctly different, and even though I personally tend to work with a very limited palette of just a few colors at a time, the hoarder of rainbows in me is highly pleased with the huge range of potential from so many distinct choices. Lastly, the colors themselves are actually very saturated and vibrant. To be fair, I did use them directly from the tube rather than from dry, so it's possible that they aren't able to be as concentrated when worked from a palette, but these certainly don't lack for delivering a strong punch of color as I've seen it so far. Now let's finish up some flyby shots of these swatches to really appreciate them while we all contemplate the merits of liking and subscribing in this age of YouTube. If you've used these paints already, I'd love to know about your experiences with them. And if you've been thinking about trying them, why not join in on the discussion with your thoughts? Might give me some things to test about them in a future review. Also, if anyone has insight into just what and why the differences between the Professional line and the PWC line are, I am highly curious. Until I see you next time, I wish you peace, love, and professionals.